everyone, and welcome to another edition of Yacht Crew Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I am your host, and I'm very pleased to welcome my next guest. His name is Fang. He is the founder of Yachting Singapore. It was founded in 1997. After 15 years of Fang serving in the Singapore Navy, they also built ribs, actually, was the first sort of foray into the yachting industry prior to becoming the yacht agency. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I would really like to know, before we get into your business, a little bit about you. Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Singapore, and I joined the Navy because we had national service here. So I decided to go for the Navy because I've always been passionate about boating and sailing and all that. So I thought it's just a natural progression. So I didn't think twice when the papers came. So I decided to sign on as a regular for 15 years. Although at that time, the period of national service was only 2.5 years. So after 15 years of service, I was really lost coming ashore, not knowing what to do. But I learned a little bit about boating and all that. So I decided to follow my passion and go for boat building. And there was this particular type of boat that I was very interested in, and that was rigged because of its maneuverability. And I started doing that. And with that, I had the opportunity to go on various super yachts when they come to Singapore and require repairs for their tenders. So I thought, yeah, I could do that because with my background in the Navy, knowing all the rules and regulations and what you shouldn't do, it should be quite an easy way to, get myself into that business. So that's how I slowly evolved and spending more and more time in the super yacht. And I eventually gave up my rig business because just the super yacht business alone is taking out all my time. When I first started, I maybe have one boat in a year. The rest of the time, I do rigs. And then now it's like every month we are busy. And I really have to steal time in September period to just visit one or two yacht show. And other than that, so I wanted to go to Palma International Boat Show this year, but I couldn't. So we are busy.
Tell me how much the yachting and super yacht industry has changed since 1997.
A lot. About 10, 12 years ago, we started to have new marinas coming up. And at the very beginning, it was like, you can park wherever you want. One of the marinas used a stern tow berthing. It has 11, 12 berths on the stern tow mooring. And if you are coming in, you can actually park side two because you can occupy 3, 4 berths. Nobody's there. But now we are fighting for just to find one berth in Singapore. So it has really grown, not only in terms of visiting yachts, but also in terms of local buyers, local owners. They've all graduated from 40-footer to 60-footer to 80-footer. And then now they are super yacht owners in the 100+ footer range. So it is becoming a big challenge, especially for Singapore, to find a place to park, a place to berth your super yacht. So it's very much like Hong Kong right now. Yeah, it's the same situation, So we are looking at more and more people developing marinas in the region. So boats, they have to move. If they don't, then the whole market is stagnant. So once more marinas are up in the region, we have more traffic flowing, we will have less congestion problem. That's what we are looking forward to.
In the past, was it a matter that the government wasn't really aware of the benefits of the industry, that you didn't have the marinas and the berths available?
In the past, I think in the Singapore's context, I think it's a matter of having somebody who sees the business opportunity to invest in waterfront project to build a marina. So it's not so much that there's a rule against or for it, So in fact, you see in a lot of marina development projects in the area, in Southeast Asia, they are all linked to property, waterfront housing. I think the developers are still seeing it as property play. And that's how it is today. well, as long as marinas are built, we are fine, you know.
Well, these marina developments, is it generally local investment or is it international investment?
Still very much local and regional, not so much international yet. I think it's always demand and supply. So sooner or later, I think big players will come in. Already in Singapore, you are seeing some of the big brokerage houses establish shops in Singapore and Hong Kong and in Phuket in Thailand. So more and more of them are coming in. Of course, they see the benefit, they see the business there. So they set up shops here. And this is just going to grow, you know.
As far as crew go, we are seeing actually in the maritime industry straight across the board, there is a significant lack of crew coming into the industry. Are there schools in the area that are bringing the local children into the industry and giving them the opportunity to become the next super yacht crew generation?
In Singapore, there isn't Superyacht or Yacht Crew Academy per se. You can find one in maybe Thailand, Phuket, one or two. In the Philippines, maybe. But in most of the countries, it is still commercial seafarer that is more important than yacht crew. So a lot of professional seafarers in Asia do come from the commercial side. But Singapore is a big shipping hub. So, but it's still a struggle to try to get young people to join the sea trade. It's not easy these days. So I think to get people to join the yacht industry is, I think, even more difficult, you know. I think basically it has a direct relation with how the economy is doing. I think if the economy is doing well, you know, be it IT, AI, or gaming or whatever, I think it's going to be very difficult to find young people wanting to join the seafarer trade, you know. Likewise, we have government finding people joining the Navy these days.
Is it a matter that perhaps there's not enough money in becoming a seafarer?
I don't think so. I think it's a matter of lifestyle. I mean, I do come across some Asian crew. We try to recruit from the F&B hospitality trade. But when they hear about, you know, you have to be out at sea for weeks and months, they say that's not for me. So, you know, they expect, you know, I can still do the F&B thing, serving and all that, but I want to go home every night. So it's a lifestyle thing, you know.
Yeah. If somebody is looking to charter a yacht, for example, in Singapore, what types of things can they expect?
Okay, you have to distinguish within super yachts or just non-super yachts. Okay, if you are talking about super yachts, you know, there's actually no limit as to how far they can go. And within a couple of days of sailing in Singapore, you find a lot of nice cruising ground. Like, for example, in Indonesia, you have Raja Ampat, you have Commodore, you have, you know, southern part of the Philippines, and people are now more and more venturing to Halong Bay in Vietnam. So if you have a super yacht, you have the range, you can do that. Or you can fly there, you know, use Singapore as a stepping board. But if you are smaller boats, then within about, let's say, 200 nautical miles, you have nice islands in the South China Sea on the east coast of Malaysia. You have the Borneo, you know, and you have some parts of Sumatra, northern part of Sumatra, that you can do surfing and all that. So, of course, Phuket is a very popular spot for hotels in Singapore to go to. It's relatively close by and it's quite a sheltered area. So it all depends on the size of the boats, but there's plenty of things to do. But from my perspective, I think Singapore is also a very important technical hub or logistic hub for super yachts, because in the whole of Southeast Asia, you know, ships needs repair, maintenance and all that. And because Singapore has always been a seaport, Singapore is one of the biggest seaports in the world. I think now we are probably second. And we are also one of the biggest bunkering port. You can find all sorts of maritime trade here for maintenance, shipyard repair and all that. The standards will not be the same as in the Med. I mean, in the Med, you have really wide shipyard. We don't. The shipyards here are all doing commercial, but they can do, because the skill sets are the same. So they can do the big super yachts. They have the competency to do it, but it is a commercial shipyard. Nevertheless, we are getting also more and more yachts coming to Singapore for haul-out period, be it survey, refit, or repair. And that is a trend that will continue, because when they decide to come to this part of the world from Europe, they will spend maybe like 2 years away from their usual so-called home port. And they will vow to have a period where they need to do some haul-out or maintenance, and Singapore is the place to do all these things.
The big hot topics around the world right now are sustainability and, of course, ESG. It hasn't quite hit the super yacht industry yet, but it is hitting shipping worldwide. What is the industry in the area doing to look forward to compliance in these matters?
Well, in the case of Singapore, it's a very big effort in all these things. Like, for example, there's already a plan in place to have zero emission for all pleasure craft. So I don't know how it's going to happen, but there is a plan in place. So you have to do something, either change your propulsion plant or buy your carbon credit or something like that. Biofuel is also something that they are going into. And a lot of the workboats, hovercraft flying the port, they are converting to electric. So these are the things that, and I think also because during COVID, it sort of like gave the whole movement a push. Right now, there's a lot of emphasis on digitalization. I mean, I used to have to board the yacht when they come in and physically see the captain off when they leave, because I have people to deal with that. Now everything is done online. So that cuts down the travel time, cuts down my carbon footprint as well, Yeah.
Well, going forward, what do you say in the next 5 years or 10 years?
I think the area is continuing to promote itself. And I think if you look comparatively in Europe, it's getting very congested. So if people are wanting to have more pristine location to visit, away from the crowd, the usual friends that you meet at the anchorage, this is definitely an area to come. We are also seeing a lot of yachts coming from South Pacific side. In the past, these yachts come from Panama Canal. So they are Americans or Mexican, South Africa. And they always there's seems to be a U-turn sign at Tahiti. They all seem to U-turn back after Tahiti. I do not know why. But we are getting to see more and more of them continuing westward and coming to this part of the world, which is a good sign. So people are also getting more adventurous. And that's good for this part of the world, because we are relatively, like you say, you didn't know much about Asia or Southeast Asia. So people are discovering it. And this is definitely the next cruising ground that we hope people will come, apart from the Caribbean, the routine trip,
Yeah, it would be nice to see sort of a season that is in that area.
Yeah, the area is very diverse. This area is very diverse. I mean, it's almost all year round. So you have to plan. You have the monsoon period, the hurricane period. You have the, Southern Hemisphere has its winter period. But this entire area, it's not homogeneous. So you definitely can spend 2 years here going to different parts, benefiting from the best of the seasons and have a good time with the owner and the charter guest.
I want to say thank you ever so much for your time. And I would like to ask you to come back to give us an update on what things have changed and what's moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to do that.
To our audience out there, this has been Fang. He is the founder of Yachting Singapore. We will provide all of his details below this interview when it airs. Thank you once again, Fang.
Thank you.
You've been watching another edition of Yacht Crew Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I've been your host. We'll see you again next time.